A 14-year-old's dead and police arrested another juvenile after a shooting last night. Thanks for watching. I'm Kim Christensen.
I'm Tom Green. This all happened at a townhome complex in Greeley, only a few blocks away from the UNC campus. And 9 News reporter Ria Jha is there now. And Ria, you spoke with some residents who say they're fed up with this type of violence.
Yeah, we're here at the Sunlight Townhomes, which is on 16th Street. And as you said, it's a few blocks away from UNC's campus, which is a pretty busy area. There's restaurants and shops and students walking around. So Greeley police say officers were called just after 7 p.m. for reports of a shooting. When they arrived, they found a 14-year-old boy unresponsive who was later pronounced dead. We spoke with one resident, Caitlin Fallis, who lives behind the unit where it happened. She and her husband saw a teenager running towards the railroad tracks just minutes before first responders arrived.
The cops stayed there actually until 1 a.m. is because they didn't want the coroners and the detectives there or to remove the body with all the neighbors outside and the kids outside. So they waited until after midnight to remove him.
Fallis says her family is planning to move out within the next 2 months, citing ongoing violence and safety concerns. But she said her concerns were never with this 14-year-old who was killed. She said he was a good kid and always nice to her own kids.
I mean, he hung around an edgier crowd, but they weren't kids to be that violent. I mean, they would probably fight here and there. I've actually had to break up one of their fights, but it was just boys being boys in my sense, but not to the point where one would kill each other. So honestly, given what the situation that happened, my question is where are the parents and how was the gun with the children?
A juvenile suspect was arrested and police say this was an isolated incident, so there is no ongoing threat to the community right now. Reporting live in Greeley, Ria Jha, 9 News.
Sad to see that kind of violence, Ria. Thanks for the update from Greeley. Investigators are working to determine what sparked this fire that seriously damaged 2 homes in Westminster. No one was hurt, but 2 cats were killed. The families are now out of those homes near 80th and Sheridan. The fire also burned 2 cars. Investigators told us they originally got several 911 calls reporting an explosion. At this point, though, they are still looking into the cause. And a human-caused fire started today in Larimer County, but investigators believe it started accidentally around 12:30 near LaPorte. It's about 15 minutes northwest of Fort Collins. Poudre Fire did call in a second team to help them get control. It took them about 2 hours to contain it. The size has not been officially determined yet, but no structures were threatened and no one was hurt. Larimer County authorities say the person who did start that fire has been cited.
A little nervous, though, because there was a lot of sun today and some wind as well. We did get another nice spring-like day, and then severe weather season is here. There's a threat of it, or so they say. Our weather impact team is eyeing the storms coming our way tomorrow. Kathy, is that it? Are we close? Or, I mean, is this the season? It is, right?
Yeah, May
really
and June.
Though.
Yeah, May and June. June it peaks, but May is certainly when we, and kind of getting into the latter half of April, that's when we really start to see the seasons change from cold and snow to afternoon storms and some with hail and wind. And it's possible east of Akron and Lyman, there could be a couple of those stronger storms tomorrow. In Denver today, we're watching that wind very closely because of the elevated fire danger and because of that wildfire they were tracking up to the north and west of the city. The wind has not prompted National Weather Service to put out a red flag warning for today, and we do hope that we'll see those winds die down after sunset tonight. There are a few clouds out there this evening. It is a dry afternoon. We're at 71 in Denver, almost 80 in Lamar, 68 in Eagle, and 62 in Steamboat. Passing weather system yesterday has left a little bit of mid-level moisture. We'll have more of that tomorrow, so with heating of the day, probably a little more to show you on the radar than what we're seeing this afternoon, which is just isolated showers. And we'll see those isolated storms move quickly from west to east tonight, then we clear out. We get a sunny start to the day. Late in the day, we'll start to see that moisture, and then we start to see some widely scattered storms with the threat for hail again east of Denver, but certainly something to pay attention to as this signals the beginning of an active spring season. So temperatures in the low 70s now will drop into the 50s by about 9 o'clock tonight. Weather headlines include mild, dry weather for another day, chance for midweek showers. We could see some really good rain showers, heavy rain coming in for the second half of the week. So we're going to talk about that and a cooler weather trend heading into the first warm, dry weekend we've had in weeks.
Thanks, Kathy. Today, the Supreme Court started hearing arguments about whether books that include gay or transgender characters should be allowed in elementary schools. Early reports say the justices appeared to be sympathetic to the parents who claimed their First Amendment religious rights were violated with these books in school. The school district introduced the storybooks in 2022 in Maryland with such titles as Prince and Knight and United and Uncle Bobby's Wedding as part of an effort to better reflect the district's diversity in Montgomery County. Parents initially were allowed to opt their children out of the lessons for religious or other reasons, but the school board reversed course a year later, prompting protests and eventually this lawsuit. A live look at St. Peter's Square tonight. Cardinals have arrived to the Vatican to soon begin the conclave process of picking a new pope. Pope Francis's body will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow morning for worshipers to pay their respects ahead of his funeral on Saturday. People around the world are expected to pay their last respects to Pope Francis.
The late pontiff is currently lying in state. NBC's Jay Gray is in Rome. He has more.
The faithful continue to honor and remember Pope Francis this evening here outside of the Vatican. The pontiff will return to St. Peter's Basilica for the last time tomorrow morning, the second station in funeral rites for the Pope. His body will lie in state through Friday evening ahead of his funeral Saturday morning. The President and First Lady, along with dignitaries and leaders from around the world, will join hundreds of thousands in and around St. Peter's Square to say thank you and one final goodbye.
Well, definitely it's a sad moment right now for the Catholic Church. Pope Francis was revolutionary, was a pope that made great changes in the different beliefs of the church, of people. He's in our hearts, he's with God right now.
Traditionally, the highly secretive conclave to elect a new pope begins 15 to 20 days after a pontiff's death. The largest group of voting cardinals ever, 135, will gather behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel until white smoke pours from the chimney, signaling they have selected a successor to Francis. Jay Gray, NBC News, Rome.
Today is Earth Day, and Democratic Governor Jared Polis signed an executive order to further the state's green agenda. He announced at Cherry Creek State Park today that the state will be working to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. This will be done by continuing efforts such as trading in state vehicles for electric ones, reducing water usage in state buildings, and installing more solar panels on state buildings.
This work is first and foremost a reflection of the values we hold: smart stewardship of public resources, care for our environment, a commitment to preserving and protecting our state for generations to come.
The governor says these efforts have already cut emissions by 26% in the last 10 years.